everyone. My name's Marianne. Some of you know I'm a humanitarian that does work around the world, but I love highlighting people who are doing incredible things. And one of them is my friend Kidd Waya. Many of you know that Kidd has become a very well-known personality because of the work that you did on TV in Africa, and you're well known for living a glamorous life. But very few people know another side of you, and actually it's my favorite side of you. And that is the part of you that realizes that you need to harness what you've amassed to try and make an impact. And I'd love to start off by when you decided to take a experience that most people wouldn't have the guts to take, which was to be on the streets of London and live like a homeless man, to see things from your perspective. Can you share a little bit about that?
Wow, that was in 2023, February, so it was very cold. One day I kind of woke up, walking down my high street and throughout London, and I just saw a lot of homeless people. And I do this thing where you kind of passively walk by them, kind of knowing they're there, but you just kind of keep on moving. And I'm sure we're all guilty of that. So I did that a couple of times, and when I got home, I was just like, you know, they're going through a lot, and as humans, we tend to just really ignore them. So I told myself to really understand how they feel. It's not about donating money or giving food to them and just keep on walking. It's about really understand what they're going through. Now, I may not have known 100% what they're going through because I know I can always leave that environment, but at least I have a little understanding of what their day-to-day life is. So I decided to go live in the streets for 7 days in Clapham Junction, those that you know. Packed a backpack of sleeping bag, duvet, and I went to the street, found a corner. I sat there. Honestly, I wouldn't lie to you, I thought about quitting every hour or so because I just thought to myself, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? But I had to persevere through it, and it was very, very difficult, very challenging, but very humbling after the first day.
And you had told me that you had had moments where if you need to use the restroom, you had to go into a pub or to wash up. And I know that the kind of judgmental looks people give, especially as a person of color, and all the conclusions they make, you know, how did that impact you and having more empathy for people?
I wasn't allowed in. A lot of the times I wasn't allowed in because I did actually make myself homeless. I was wearing black and hoodie, had my beard, a little bit dirty. And most times the security will say, you know, it's paying customers only. And that's, you know, obviously made me feel kind of like inhumane in some sort of way. So you have to go across the brochure in the corner. But I mean, what really touched me the most in terms of what really got to me was the fact that people just walked by without acknowledging. Almost like they see you there, they kind of take a different route because they don't want to get close to you, or they don't want to smell you or whatever. And I felt like no matter what, we're all humans. And even if you just looked at me and just smiled and walked by, I'm like, okay, I'm happy, I'm good. And a lot of times when I found out, people just want to talk to on the street. You don't have to give me money or food. Sometimes it's just that acknowledgement that makes me feel like I'm seen. You know, simple things like that.
Like, I acknowledge you, you're a human being,
That's
you
it.
matter.
That's it. Like, I matter. You know, and I am guilty of that as well. I've done it a few times. But to experience that myself, especially in day 3 when things were getting really difficult, you know, that was quite tough.
What is the thing, coming from a great deal of wealth and having that experience, that you would really like to say to people of means who are, you know, we've all done, when you're walking down the street, you just ate a really nice meal or bought some nice fashion that could buy this person's meals for a week with what you spent on something. And, you know, you just walk past. What would you say to people or want to convey to people that live that glamorous, that aspire to live a glamorous life, and helping them to recognize the human beings that are there? I mean, what could you say or want to say to them?
I mean, to be honest with you, if you do see someone that's homeless on the street, honestly, just stop and just smile. Okay, you didn't have to give money, you don't have to give food, you don't have to give anything, but just stop, smile, and walk by. That's the bare minimum is what they kind of want. A lot of them are going through different emotional instability and mental illnesses, and sometimes a nice smile can actually get them through the day. Now, if you do want to go the extra mile, by all means, stop and talk to them. That will absolutely make their day, more than food. And if you want to go extra mile, of course, give them some money or some food and speak to them. You know, I had some times where I was on the street where lovely people would actually speak to me and ask me, how did I get here? I almost broke character several times because didn't really know how I got here. I just did an experiment. There was one guy on my first day, actually, when I sat outside a Sainsbury's on the corner, and I sat there, getting comfortable. He came up to me within an hour, gave me £10, and said to me, "Am I hungry?" I said yes. Walked into the shop, came out with a bag of food and goodies, and I almost cried and almost said to him, "You know what? I can't take this. I'm just doing a social experiment." So there are some really, really nice people, and also what I did realize on the street is that there are, I don't know if it's charities or government agencies, but there are people who actually go and get young people off the street and offer them some sort of temporary shelter. So there are people trying to help, but of course, that's not for everyone. So I do think that the minimum we can do as citizens is just the acknowledgement to start with.
Well, this obviously made you become much more aware of empathy and the power that you potentially have. Because I know afterwards you created your foundation and you've now done things with it. Can you tell us a little bit about how it's inspired you to start going into a humanitarian direction?
So it's funny because before I met you, I was very much into lifestyle and traveling and private jets and
Which is fun.
Which was fun, yeah. But and I haven't said this much, but Marianne was actually motivating me to get more into philanthropy because she spends a lot of her time and life doing that, and lately I spent a lot of time with her. And when I see you doing all these things, I kind of got inspired. So I said, you know what, the jet stuff was fun. That's kind of like the old me, but now I want to do more and give back. So that kind of pushed me to start the Kidd Waya Foundation, and just recently, about a couple of months ago.
Tell us the name of it.
Yes, it's the Kidd Waya Foundation, started off in Nigeria, and what we focus on is on education, agriculture, and healthcare. So recently, we put 16 students through full scholarships through school, so that includes postgraduates. We also went to hospitals, paid life-saving medical bills, and when I mean life-saving, I mean if they don't get the help today, then tomorrow's not promised. And we also went into agriculture and gave 25 male and women a chance to grow their own eggs so they can try and look after their own household, so earn household income. So through those eggs, they can sell it, start a business, or feed their families. Or
I love hearing that because none of this has been rehearsed. I'm learning about some of this as we speak. And to me, those things are so important because, in the United States, we have what's called Food Source USA, and we're now doing Food Source UK. And what we find is that it's always the three. It is always rent or mortgage, health, and food. And most people are spending their entire life juggling those things, struggling with them. In the United States, there was one couple and they both made, 6-figure salaries. They were on these families that took vacations. They had the car, all the name brand labels people like to brag about. And they had a daughter and she got so sick that in 1 month alone, they had to spend 6 figures just on saving her life. Of course, they're going to do it. They have never been able to get their necks above the water since. And so if you saw someone in line, you'd be like, they have a Mercedes. Why are they here? But so there's also a great unseen amount of people that may look like they have it together, but in reality, there's one healthcare crisis or one tragedy away from being on the street, and people don't see that part. And the things that give people the security is an education, being able to have the burden of the healthcare stuff done, or being able to provide food for themselves. So I love that you're choosing those three things because those are life transformative.
It's the pillars, yeah. And we just, even though we're not doing a massive scale, like we always say, every little helps. And if we can save one life or, help one, for us, it's the job well done. So,
and it begins small. And success is when they become the philanthropist. So you get somebody going with their education or their health. One day they're helping somebody else. So that's how you grow it.
Absolutely.
And, with that in mind, I know that recently there's been a tragedy that's happened in Nigeria. For those that don't know about it, can you tell us what happened?
Yes, actually in my states, I think 3-4 days ago. Well, to be fair, this has been going on for actually decades. But 3-4 days ago, it was kind of magnified where 200 people were killed in one day. And those are the ones that we do know of. And it's basically herdsmen, which are people who herd cows into grass to graze. They're out there just killing people in communities and terrorizing those communities for decades now. And the situation is getting very bad in my states. So of course, through my foundation, we decided to try and raise some money and to try and use that money to help displaced families and really who else has been affected from this and try and help them with the things they need now. It could be water, it could be food, it could be someone to stay for a week or so, your baby, whatever it is. And that's what the foundation does. Any way it can help, it does that.
And one of the things I also want to address, because I know this has happened in my life, people that look at my family and my dad and say, well, she's trying to fundraise. Why doesn't she just get it all from, give it all herself again? A lot of times the way these families are structured, and I don't know how yours was, is that, you have your inheritance that's actually tightly controlled. Any of you seen the movie Hitch will know this scene where the main character goes in and wants to invest in a friend's business. And there's this line of old crotchety men that are like 12 people. And they say, oh, well, no, we're going to invest this way. So you don't have a whole lot of say. And what you do have say over, you have to make an argument for. And so I'm just really, really impressed that you, of your own volition, took what you do have control over to make that difference. And, I understand, and what we were talking about just recently at dinner was potentially doing a matching thing. So, I know one of the things that my husband suggested is that you set up a challenge for people to match. So, how much have you put toward that you control right now into the foundation?
About $35,000.
35,000. Wow. Well, I can't swing that right now because I have other stuff, but I would be happy to match about 5,000. So, and what I would challenge other people watching this is help Kidd out, because, it's not two things. I'm just going to be blunt. Kidd is not his dad. His dad controls stuff.
Thank you. Can I just reiterate that? My dad is not involved in this foundation. Okay, I'm trying my best by myself.
Yes.
Even though he is my motivator, it's just.
Yeah.
I want everyone to know that. It's not
exactly. I'm just going to be
tap into the millions and be like, here's.
Yeah, I've been in the same position. My dad was the one that succeeded, did all that stuff, and I've had what I'm allowed to control, and I'm building on it, and that's what you're trying to do, and you're doing a brilliant job trying to begin this. I want to encourage you. And for everybody that's out there, when somebody with means asks for something, it's not that they're ignoring that they are in a more privileged position. It's just that they're saying, how can I motivate you? And you succeeded because you motivated me. So I'm going to add to what you did and ask anyone out there that also wants to contribute to.
Can I post this online so people get to the donation for this video?
Yeah. So I'm going to pledge 5,000.
That's amazing.
Kidd has put 35. Let's see if we can get another 30,000. You don't have to be from Nigeria. You just have to care about people. So let's try and come together and match what Kidd has done.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thanks.